Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final episode of the first season of The Pocket Passer. I hope you all have had a great time watching this first season. This is the 28th episode. There's going to be a heck of a lot more in the next season, I can promise you that. There were especially near the end of the season, I did not consistently upload, working on setup and trying to see where I kind of wanted to go, what direction I wanted to go in for the pod. But focusing on Instagram and TikTok heavily was kind of my goal. I'm going to continue to, of course, do that. But don't you worry. The season might be over, but this isn't like some regular TV show where you have to wait several months for season 2 to start. No. This face right here is sticking around. You're going to see me on Instagram and you're going to see me on TikTok regularly. So unless you don't want the best sports information during the entire offseason, I suggest that you keep following me and keep those notifications on and just keep an open ear because I'm going to keep talking. I don't stop doing that. Those of you that know me personally know that is a fact. But with that set aside, let's get rolling into the final episode where we're doing our NFL season review. The 2022-2023 season was a very interesting season, to say the least, with tons of ups and tons of downs as well. Obviously, as a Packers fan, I experienced a great deal of downs. And then with my secondary team being the Bengals, some excitement for a while until kind of a gut punch due to a disappointing performance, frankly, by the Bengals offense. I don't blame the refs for that AFC Championship game at all. And then as my third team being the Bills, watching my second team kick their doors down like some Pee-wee football team going up against a junior high team. It was bad. It was really bad. So, not a great year for me as an NFL fan. But hey, that's why I enjoy the game. There was tons of players to root for. Jared Goff was exciting, even though he was playing for the Lions. I'm going to have to start hating the Lions because I think they're going to be good. My gut tells me they win the division next year. More on kind of how I viewed next season, obviously, at the start of season 2. So I'm going to keep things locked in here on the season review. We're going to work our way through the year. We're going to talk about my predictions preseason and how they went. And I'm going to give kind of kudos to teams that I thought outperformed my expectations, my wildest expectations. And then I'm going to dump on teams that stunk it up despite my lofty expectations. So starting off with dumping on teams that completely just undermined my expectations. My team, the Green Bay Packers. I had them going 12-5. They went 8-9 and they missed the playoffs, and they frankly just stunk. Okay? Their first chunk of the season after starting 3-1, there was plenty of concerns during that 3-1 start where you're like, hey, I know they're 3-1, I know they're on pace, but something doesn't feel right. And obviously I stayed cocky, I stayed arrogant. We had this game stretch where we were playing teams like the Giants, the Commanders, the Jets, and I believe there was one other winnable game in there that we expected. We lose all of those games, and now we have to go to the Bills in Sunday Night Football. And it's like, oh, shoot, lose that game too. And there's so many games the Packers should have won that they were better teams. They're better teams, flat out, than some of the teams they played. By the end of the season, they were better than the Jets. By the end of the season, they were better than the Commanders, for sure. And they couldn't get it done. The Giants is arguable. I think they had a better roster than the Giants, but the Giants apparently were the better coached team. They got things done, and the defense locked it up in the second half of that game. So Packers underperformed greatly. Huge disappointing season by them. They got to get it together. There's all kinds of wrinkles going into their offseason. Per usual, Aaron Rodgers drama. You can be sure we will be covering that heavily at the start of season 2 and all the way through the offseason until we know exactly what he's doing, which will hopefully be soon. He said he would announce it after his darkness retreat, which he is going on at the end of this week. We'll see if he holds true to that kind of planned announcement or if it drags on a little longer. We know the Packers want that information by the draft so they know what direction to go with drafting players. So let's see if everything goes as planned or if it all falls apart. Well, we'll see in the next season. As far as a team in the NFC North that exceeded my expectations, I knew the Lions would be better this year. I told you guys they were a dark horse playoff team next year, but they darn near made the playoffs this year. They were a Seahawks loss away from pushing themselves into the postseason. Or, I mean, even if the Seahawks don't lose, if they just don't lay an egg in the run defense against the Panthers, then they make the playoffs. So, one game out from the playoffs, and they barely lost to Seattle too, by the way. So, which was the reason they lost and didn't make the playoffs. So Seattle had the tiebreaker over them. The Lions exceeded everybody's expectations. Started off 1-6 and proceeded to lose just 2 games the entire rest of the year. That's beyond impressive. And those 2 losses, by the way, one of which to the Bills, a game they should have won. They should have beat the Bills. They outplayed the Bills on Thanksgiving and couldn't get the job done due to a errant Jared Goff fade ball, who, by the way, was beyond impressive this year. They can't draft a quarterback. They got to stick with Jared Goff this year. Just my 2 cents on that. But Lions wildly exceeded my expectations, even though they only had 2 more wins than what I predicted them to do. They were a disappointment to start the year, and boy, did they kick it into gear. So, a lot of optimism if you are a Detroit fan, and a lot of, frankly, the opposite if you are a Packers or Vikings fan, because as NFL history has taught us, teams that win by 1-score games consistently, I believe the Vikings had, 11 one-score victories or 12? It was the most in NFL history, or it was tied for the most. Those teams don't make the playoffs the next year. It's just not how it works. They don't do it. So the Vikings, you can be rest assured, will not be back in the postseason next year. For whatever reason, we'll find out why next year, but they won't be back next year. Going to the NFC South, the entire NFC South. I mean, the Panthers, just about spot on, and the Falcons, just about spot on. But the Saints especially, I thought they had the roster, they had what it took, but the QB kind of chaos that ensured that they failed, and they ended up having just a horrific season despite my best kind of high hopes for them. I thought Jameis Winston would have a breakout year. He got hurt, never came back. So really unfortunate the way everything unfolded for the Saints. Buccaneers stunk it up and won the division with a losing record just to get pummeled in the playoffs. So that was fun. Eagles, I nailed the Eagles. That's one thing I'm excited about. I was wrong about Jalen Hurts. I thought the Eagles roster was just very, very good and that they were going to dominate their easy schedule, which they did. They dominated their very easy schedule, and they ended up getting that easy schedule continued in the playoffs by whooping a Giants team with no receivers, and then getting to play Brock Purdy with no UCL and Josh Johnson, who doesn't know how to catch a snap. So that was the gift the Eagles were bestowed in their postseason journey to the Super Bowl. But nonetheless, they did not disappoint in the regular season. They were fantastic. They were better than I expected them to be as a team, and Jalen Hurts was able to take them to the next level, far exceeding my expectations. I went from a Jalen Hurts doubter to a huge fan of Jalen Hurts this year. He has proven me wrong. I did not think he had what it took to be able to push the ball downfield consistently, but he turned out to be arguably the best deep ball thrower in the league this year. So really props to Jalen Hurts for proving me and so many other people who wrote him off wrong. Cowboys are the Cowboys. They might have had a better record than what I projected them to, but they're the Cowboys. And I knew they'd be the Cowboys, and they were the Cowboys. Time and time again, when you think they're going to do something good, what happens? Someone underperforms at a key position. In this case, Dak Prescott. And they don't get it done offensively, playing a porous game against the 49ers. They did lose Tony Pollard, and that undoubtedly had a massive effect on their productivity. But nonetheless, their season ends in disappointment, and they are the first team to go to 12 straight playoffs without reaching their conference championship.
Final play, it looks like barring a penalty. Prescott over the middle of the turf, gets smoked right away, and that'll do it. The full.
What an impressive feat by the Dallas Cowboys. And don't worry, I'm not going to keep hating on the Cowboys. I got to find a new team to hate on next year. We will stay tuned to find out who that team is.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
Jerry.
I don't know yet. Or maybe I'll just stick with the Cowboys if everyone wants me to. We'll see if I get an overwhelming surge in my social media comment sections to continue hating the Cowboys. I might stay with it. But I'm going to remain unbiased, and if the Cowboys do something to prove me wrong, I will shut up and applaud them. But they've yet to do that. So we keep rolling. Oh boy. The West. Rams Not even close. The biggest Super Bowl slump I've ever seen. They stunk before Matthew Stafford got hurt and eventually had to miss time. And they stunk before Cooper Kupp got hurt and had to miss time. They were just bad this year. Their defense wasn't terrible, but the offense was abysmal, and they couldn't put two good games together on both sides of the ball at the same time, having the worst season by any team to win the Super Bowl the previous year in NFL history. So, an impressive feat by them. At least they stay breaking records to stay memorable in some way. 49ers, I nailed them. They were fantastic to end the season. A rough start, but man, did they get rolling, especially with Brock Purdy. And props to Mr. Irrelevant for becoming one of the most relevant rookies in the league. Didn't get a first-place vote, but man, was he good. Excellent rookie year for Brock Purdy. I am polling for him to start next year. I think he's earned it. Hopefully he's able to recover from his UCL injury. I don't know what the whole verdict is. I don't know if he's getting Tommy John or not. Hopefully that doesn't have to happen, because really a fun season watching Brock Purdy. Even as someone who does not like the 49ers, because I'm a Packers fan, I've had to watch the 49ers ruin our season on multiple occasions. But I like a lot of the players on the Niners. They're a fun team with a lot of fun players. I like their coach. I like everyone on the team. I just don't like the team. Cardinals were a disappointment. Kyler Murray got hurt, but before Kyler Murray got hurt, they still stunk. They underperformed all year long. And the Seahawks, oh boy, the Seahawks made me look like an idiot. I predicted them to have the worst record in the NFL, and they ended up making the playoffs. So, huge props to them. Beating the team that I thought would be the repeat 1 seed in the final game to make the playoffs. I mean, Geno Smith, beyond incredible what he did. Just to turn his career around like that. You hear people saying, "Well, what did he come back from? Just being trash?" Yeah, that's exactly what he came back from. That's one of the specifications in the award, is the award can be coming back from injury or other forms of adversity, such as just not being good. Maybe a player had a down year, or in Geno Smith's case, a down career. He was mediocre his entire career, and he came out and he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. In my opinion, a top 10 quarterback, and he led his team to the playoffs. We understand that, yes, the running game was crucial, and Kenneth Walker is what took that offense to the next level to officially carry them to the postseason, because they would not have made it there without Kenneth Walker's production. I'm not disputing that. But also, for Geno Smith to come in and do what he did after the career he's had is beyond impressive. And, I mean, just huge props to Geno Smith for what he's able to do. I haven't really been able to make a video dedicated to Geno Smith. The only time I did was in that 49ers playoff game. And what happened? They got smoked in the second half as soon as I made a video giving them kudos. Yeah, good job, Seattle. You're winning at halftime. And then they didn't score until late in the fourth quarter. And it was over. So I can't jinx you now, Geno. At least not till September 10th. So hopefully everyone forgets about this and doesn't blame me if he's bad next year. AFC North, I killed the AFC North. Bengals 12-5, Ravens 11-6, Steelers 9-8, Browns 6-11. I don't know all of their exact records, but I know the Bengals had 12 wins. The Ravens had something to the effect of 10, I believe. Steelers had 9-8. I nailed that division. I'm proud of that. I'm hanging my hat on the AFC North, and personally, I would like to just block out every other division that I predicted going forward. If not for my just wonderful integrity, the only thing I'd be talking about right now is the AFC North and the Eagles. That's it. That's all I'd be talking about, because I am scared to get to the AFC West due to just my pure idiocy on that one. AFC South. Nope. We're not even going to talk about it. I had the Jaguars finishing last, being one of the worst teams in the league, and I had the Colts winning the division, and they have, I believe, the 3rd pick, or 4th, something really early. So we're just not gonna go there. And the Texans, by the way, I had going 6-11, which is somehow a cold take. How do you not win 6 games? I thought you guys got better. I knew Lovie Smith was a bridge coach, by the way. I called that, I believe, on an I4 Nation podcast Lovie Smith was a bridge coach. I told you guys he would not be sticking around. He would be gone after this year, and I was right because honestly, I know the roster stinks, but he's not a very good coach. He's not. Sorry, I'm sorry to tell ya. It's just water. AFC West. Oh boy, here we go. This is the gut punch. Chargers 12-5, Raiders 11-6, Broncos 11-6, and Chiefs missing the playoffs at 10-7. Isn't that just a bundle of joy? I could not have screwed this up any worse.
What do you want to do with your life?
Chargers went, 9-8? And hopefully their coach learns from his mistakes, by the way, because playing your starters in a meaningless Week 18 game when you have a playoff game to win in a week is, how do I say this? Stupid. It's stupid. It's a bad idea. It's a terrible, don't do it. Don't do it.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
Raiders and Broncos are just big sacks of disappointment. If the Broncos offense could put up 18 points or more in all of their games, they would have gone, I think, 13-4.
Here comes the airplane.
And if they would have done it in regulation, 13-4 sounds right. I think that's what they would have gone. So basically what I'm trying to say is that is the most incompetent season-long offensive performance I maybe have ever seen. Since I wasn't around for that Ravens offense that went like 5 games in a row without scoring a touchdown, and Trent Dilfer didn't have a touchdown pass until week 7.
It's not impressive.
In that Super Bowl year, and they still won games because the Ravens defense that year was arguably the greatest defense to ever touch a football field. And yet, here we are talking about guys not being impressive. That's the last I'll say on Trent Dilfer, because honestly I like Trent Dilfer, but that his unimpressive take was an unimpressive take. So yeah, there you guys go. And the Super Bowl matchup I had predicted was Bills-Packers, and I had the Bills winning. So, clear Packers bias that has once again cursed me. Wow. Now, addressing the biggest problem the NFL has. The biggest obstacle facing the NFL just reaching its optimal enjoyability to watch. And that is the officiating problem we have. The refs stink, guys. Fix it. They're not good. They're not consistent. Nothing is consistent anymore. Holding calls called here because I feel like it. Defensive holding because Patrick Mahomes threw an incomplete pass on 3rd down. That's not a way to get people engaged in your sport unless you're a Chiefs fan. I'm not saying that the Chiefs didn't deserve to win the Super Bowl. They did. They outplayed the Eagles in the second half. The Eagles did not do what they needed to do to secure the victory. That is obvious because they lost. But I'm sorry for all of you saying that's holding, and all of you that are going to tell me, well, James Bradbury said it was holding, so therefore you don't know what you're talking about because the player that did it admitted it was holding. Yeah, he admitted he grabbed the jersey. Yes, he did grab the jersey. Should that be holding? I don't think it should. It's not like he hindered Juju Smith-Schuster's ability to get to a ball that was thrown 15 yards in front of him. He wasn't getting to it, guys. It's just not Bradbury's fault that that play was incomplete. It's the Eagles' pass rush actually did something for once and forced an incomplete pass. And the refs throw a flag that decides the game in a lot of ways because the Eagles have 1 minute and 40 seconds left, more than that actually, and 1 timeout to work with to get into field goal range. That is plenty of time, guys. That's plenty of time for the Eagles to get in the end zone, and we might be seeing Jalen Hurts having after a career game, hoisting the Lombardi Trophy 2 nights ago and having an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, to his name. That is a huge difference in legacy, and I'm not saying that the Eagles should have won, but what I am saying is the Eagles were robbed of an opportunity for Jalen Hurts to seal an MVP performance. And this is from a guy that picked the Chiefs to win. I told you guys I came on strong with extreme, honestly absurd confidence given how poorly my postseason predictions have gone, but I came on with extreme confidence, guaranteeing practically that the Chiefs would win the Super Bowl. But seriously, reffing is such a huge issue. It's so bad, guys. We watched Rookie of the Year Sauce Gardner a hold on almost every highlight play he has. Every time the NFL Network is like, watch this fantastic play by Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner is doing this to the receiver. And I'm not trying to hit on Sauce Gardner. He's a fantastic player. He earned his award. He's incredible. I mean, to say the least, what he's done in his rookie year is unbelievable. But there's a double standard in some ways in the NFL that for some reason guys that are popular and then they come in and they got a cool name because Sauce has got a cool name and B-Dubs gave him a sauce for a week. Therefore, we can't give him holding calls. But James Bradberry, the guy that got cut by the Giants, if he does it for the Eagles in a crucial play in the Super Bowl, and he doesn't even do anything close to what I've seen not get called this year, by the way. There have been so many egregious holding penalties that have not been called, and so many holding penalties lighter than what James Bradberry did get called. What's so frustrating to me is if you want to call what James Bradberry did holding, you're going to make that the rule. Fine, because that's been the rule. They really went heavy on illegal contact this year and not initiating contact and all that kind of stuff, not impeding receivers' routes because it's an offensive league and touchdowns are what gets you views. And I get that. But if that is holding, then that is holding for everybody in every game, no matter what. But the problem with officiating today is that not only are some of the rules so unbelievably biased towards the offense that it honestly sucks the fun out of the game because it almost feels like the points that offenses are scoring aren't earned, but there's no consistency in the calls. And consistency is such a crucial part to having a fair game that everyone can watch and perceive as going, yeah, the team earned this win. And I still stick by the fact that not one play costs the game. Nick Sirianni talked about this after the game. And not one play. There's never one play that truly costs a team a game. There's always plays here and there throughout the course of a game that lead to the result of the game, obviously. For example, Jalen Hurts dropping the ball and Nick Bolton taking it for a touchdown that gave the Chiefs a 14-14 tie. This game is very different, ladies and gentlemen, if Jalen Hurts does not fumble the football. And I'm not ragging on Jalen Hurts either, because Jalen Hurts had a career game, and I think Jalen Hurts was the best player in that game. He was. He was fantastic. 3 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown, over 300 passing yards and 70 rushing yards. He was incredible. And it's really a shame that he didn't get an opportunity to actually get the ball and do anything more than just underthrow a Hail Mary, because he would have been able to do a heck of a lot more than that. I don't know, maybe throw an interception. But at least then it's on the players, not the refs. That's what's unfortunate. And even if you want to say the call was right, you can't deny how disappointing the ending to a great Super Bowl was. Because that Super Bowl was the best Super Bowl we've gotten to watch since the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl in 2017, the beginning of 2018. That was, in my opinion, hands down, the best Super Bowl that has been televised since that Super Bowl. Because it was really the only Super Bowl since then where the refs haven't made an egregious impact. I agree with both of the controversial calls. I think Devontae Smith's catch wasn't a catch. He's bobbling it still. He doesn't have control yet until that second foot comes down. So he only gets 2 feet. It's not 3 feet. So there's no football move. He comes to the ground, and when he hits the ground, the ball hits the ground, and it jars loose, and he still has it in his arms, but it spins and loses both of his hands. So that is the proper call. It's incomplete. I thought it was honestly an obvious call that they could have called way sooner. I thought it took them way too long to review it, and how long it took them made me think they would say inconclusive evidence, which I would have been, or not enough evidence to overturn the call on the field, which, by the way, I also would have been totally fine with. That's the way I was leaning, honestly. But the Dallas Goedert catch was a catch. Good job by the officials there. And an incredible throw by Jalen Hurts on that play also. But what's a shame is a game where the players were allowed to play, there were no defensive holding calls the entire game leading up to that point. And the game was being decided by the players. And then to get to a point where you're going to have the Chiefs take a 3-point lead with about 1 minute and 42 or so seconds to go, and the Eagles are going to have an opportunity to get into field goal range with a timeout in over 1.5 minutes. That was going to be one of the more thrilling endings to a Super Bowl we've gotten to see in a long time. And we were robbed of it. Whether you want to say fairly or unfairly, we were robbed of it. And it was a shame. It really was, because it kind of soured what would have been maybe the best Super Bowl I've ever seen. And instead, I would give the edge to the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl, and I would give the edge to the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl. So, really a shame there. With that being said, it was still a very good game, and I had a lot of fun watching it. And guys, with that, we are at the end of the very first season of the Pocket Passer, Season 2, coming right around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it. Thank you all so much if you came along on this ride with me for my inconsistent YouTube uploading and my heavy Sunday Instagram spams. I'm sure you'll miss all of those. I'm going to keep posting. Don't you worry about that at all. This face is not going away. I can promise you that. And this fit just might have to stick around too, because I'm really enjoying it, to be honest with you. It makes me feel cool, you know? So, with that, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode and the new season.